Hi, everybody. This is Dr. McGuire from Higher Education Assist. We're back with another perspective, and we're going to call this Find My Path. Today with me is Catherine. How are you, Catherine?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. So Catherine and I connected last week, actually, and we just started talking just off the cuff about going to college and what I do. And what she shared with me was very interesting, and I think can be applied to many families and specifically kids or young adults watching this. Today, we're going to focus on exclusively the finances of college, right? Because that's a big thing today when one starts out, either it's a parent or kid, and where do we go and how do we accomplish that piece of the pie with going to college. So, Catherine, what intrigued me was, and I don't want to put all the cards on the table, but your path and working during college to get through that with no debt. So go ahead. The floor is yours. Walk me through, your mindset of going to college and how you approached it.
Okay. So yeah, in high school, I worked two jobs all the time. I actually love working, so hopefully you got to if you want to build up a good savings. And that's how I decided where I was going to go to college. I mean, my parents didn't go to college, and it's something they always wanted me to do. So they always wanted the best for me. So they made sure that I had my options in front of me, realistic options. So like most schools are crazy expensive, and it would be very hard to pay out of pocket. However, in my experience, I went to Salisbury, which is in Maryland, and it's a state school, and I'm from Maryland. So I kind of would recommend, if you want to stay debt free, maybe go somewhere in your state. I know like when you get out of high school, you just want to leave and go everywhere, because that's what I wanted to do. But also, there's nothing wrong with community college too. I actually did my first 2 years at community, and I was able to afford that on my own. Um, and I feel like if you work through high school, most kids would be able to afford community college on their own. And because of that, I actually got a scholarship through my community college, which helped me to go to Salisbury my last 2 years. And yeah, I just worked all throughout college too, and I was able to pay for that out of pocket as well.
Oh,
So
that's awesome. Let me just stop you here for a second. So I didn't know that about the community college. So take a couple steps back. People, I'm a big component of going to community college, right? But to each their own. So in your situation, did all of the credits transfer from community college over to the 4-year school?
yeah, so that was a little tough. There was probably, actually, I got very lucky. There was probably only like 3 classes that did
Okay.
not transfer. But that was because I was conscious of that when I started community college, and I heard everyone say, oh, make sure your credits transfer. So I actually looked up the schools that I thought I would maybe want to go to after community college, and I looked up the credits I would need and the generals and whatever, and I made sure I took those. So I didn't, because you're paying in community college probably like 500 to 800 a class.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important that you are getting everything out of it that you can.
Now, when you went to community, did you know what degree you wanted to transfer into? Because some kids, I'm just going to go to community college, get my associate's degree, go in, and we'll wing it and see how it goes.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I did, to be honest. I just started taking general classes, and the things that started to interest me, I kind of leaned more into. And for me personally, it was communication classes. I felt like they came most easiest to me, and I understood everything. So that's kind of how I decided what path I wanted to take. But of course, like I was lucky, and I stuck with the communications throughout my community years and going to state school. But people, they change their degree all the time, and I mean, you just you gotta have to understand that every class is like a lot of money. So every class you take, if it doesn't put you in the right direction, then it can set yourself back.
Yeah, yeah. And I think in your case, if you're paying for it as you go along, for the most part, that you're even more conscious of paying and how you finance that, right? Because it's easy to take out a loan when you're in high or just getting into college. You sign off, and we'll see how it goes later, right? But when you're going by a certain format in terms of paying for it. So let's talk about scholarships. You mentioned scholarships.
Yeah.
When did you start thinking about scholarships? Was it in high school or when you got to community college or somewhere in the middle?
It was definitely high school. My parents pushed me. They were like, you're smart. You can write essays for days, which luckily I had an amazing teacher in high school that taught us how to write essays like nobody's business. So I knew I could utilize that because most scholarships are you write an essay, you fill out an application of some sort, and you just send it in. And even if you think you may not get it or it doesn't completely apply for you, just apply, apply, apply. I applied for like 30 scholarships and I ended up
Wow.
getting about $1,500.
Great, great.
Yeah.
How important do you think the essay is on a college application from your perspective?
It's very important. Colleges want to see how you can even talk about yourself, but in an educated way, how you can talk yourself up because that's what life is, especially after graduating college. You are trying to sell yourself to other people. So you want to sell yourself to those colleges and say, yeah, I'm this smart and I can do good for your school and I can be involved in things and whatever else. So the essays are really important.
Right, and especially in today's world and where we are, um, word has it that yes, the SAT scores are great and all the other battery of tests are a factor, but the essay is really really important. Right, to your point, they want to see who you are. Right, get a flavor, a feel for who you are. Let's go back to high school. When did you start thinking about college and this path of going to college?
So definitely like I would say junior year is when I started to be serious about it. Although to point it out, my little brother is actually entering high school this year, and I was trying to, talk it into him how important your GPA is because it starts your freshman year of high school and you carry that GPA until you end college. So if you start high school with like a bad GPA, bad grades, it's really hard to get out of that. And it's really hard to, bring up your GPA. So like it's really important in college too. So I started thinking about college probably junior year. I know there's a lot of people that do like early applies and that sort of thing, but I kind of had it in my head that I would be going to community college. So I didn't stress about, oh, I need to apply to all these colleges. I need to get, so I kind of knew where I was going to go. So
Yeah. How early would you what how early would you recommend a student, high school student and or parent, right? Because it's a team, I think.
yeah.
When should they start looking at colleges?
I would start looking maybe sophomore year of high school just to get a general idea. Like, do you want to stay in the state? Do you want to go out of state? Do you want to, those are very important options, especially financially. And as a parent, you got to think like, oh, if my child wants to go across the country to school in California, like I gotta start saving a lot now. Like, yeah. So it's kind of just thinking about whether you want to go in state and community or you want to go somewhere else.
Yeah. Would you encourage or suggest that a student, before they go to college, investigate, research, explore different careers?
Oh yeah, of course. I looked up like I knew I wanted to do communications as a general thing, so I literally would just Google careers in communications and I would deep dive into that. I would look up, okay, well, what else can I do with my degree? You want to see like degrees are very versatile. Like if you have that piece of paper, there are so many more opportunities for you. So you just gotta start thinking about what kind of opportunities you're gonna want.
So, is your degree in communications?
It is, yeah. And then I did a track in public relations and a minor in marketing.
Okay. And I did communications too back when for one degree, anyhow. So
Mhm.
under that umbrella of communication, right? That's a loose term.
Yeah.
Just share with us, just off the top of your head, what types of careers can you shoot for with a communications degree?
Okay, yeah, there are so many. So there's a lot of stuff in human relations, which the way I like to describe it is like Toby from The Office, what he does. Like there's plenty of jobs like that. And then a lot of a big like branch under the communications is like marketing. Even if you don't do like a minor in marketing or something in your general communication classes, you will encounter a lot of marketing, advertising, that sort of thing. So there's tons of marketing jobs available with communications, even though that could be a more of a business route. But
Hmm.
and then there's like community relations. So like if you wanted to be in like nonprofits, which is something I've been exploring a lot, you can, work anywhere in a nonprofit foundation. There's so many opportunities there. There's also like in every kind of like office, they need a communications person, whether that's HR or otherwise. There's so many opportunities in pretty much any job you can have. There's going to be somewhere that you're going to need a communications person.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, would you suggest that if one is unsure what they want to do, to keep it general, right? A general degree?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Because if
Right.
you specify too much, then the classes are really specific and you can't really use that towards anything else. Whereas,
Yeah.
like for me at least, when I was just trying to figure out, communications, all the general classes like psychology, I even had to take a meteorology course, all that like had to do with communications.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Yeah,
Meteorology. Okay.
yeah, I took that at my community college. It was really hard actually.
Yeah, I'm sure. All right. Well, let's go back to the finances, right? So you enter college. How, without getting too deep into your business, how does one manage from a financial perspective paying for classes, right? Because you have the cell phone bill and you have this and you have that
Yeah.
and you want to do this, right? Some kids live at home, some don't. But what how do you do it?
Right. Well, I was actually very lucky. My parents paid for most of my phone bills, like all that stuff. My only worry was school and my education. So for me, I just worked as much as I could without jeopardizing like my study time or my homework time or whatever it was. But I would work weekends, I would work all day, and I was a server. And honestly, I think being a server is the best money you can do, for that age. So I worked my butt off, honestly. I worked all the time and I kept saving, 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 saving. And I knew that when I was going to college, what type of stuff I would be having to pay for. And like, once you look at the cost of one class at a community college versus an actual like state school, it kind of gives you an idea. I would do like a weekly thing where I'd be like, okay, in order to go to even do like a 4 class load this semester, I need to save like 200 a week and
Wow.
I need to work this many hours. Yeah, so I really broke it down to how much I really needed to save in order to do it. And it's very possible. I know it seems like it's impossible, but if you put your mind to it, you can do it. Oh, sorry, it froze.
Yeah, we froze for a second. Okay,
Okay,
can you
there
hear
we
me
go.
now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Did you ask me something I didn't hear?
No, we're just picking up with you're saying that it's possible and it's doable if you make a plan.
Yeah.
And I totally admire you for that because I think it's hard today, right? So let me just take a side turn to this. Were you influenced by anybody? How who said or Catherine, maybe you should, or this is how you would budget your money? Was there any influence in your life?
Yeah, honestly, my parents, they are seriously my favorite people in the world. They have done nothing but support me the whole time. They've helped me out when they can, but they just really engraved it into my brain how important it was to get a degree because they didn't have one and they knew that there are so many more opportunities for
Hmm.
those who get a degree. Not saying it's impossible to make money if you don't have a degree, but there's so many more opportunities, and my mom kept letting me know, like, I know it's hard right now, but you will have the world when you're done. So I kind of just
Yeah.
kept that in mind with everything I did.
That's a good point. That's a good point. What suggestion would you give a high school student right now if you were talking to them without preaching?
Yeah. I would just give the advice of, do your absolute best. You make your own destiny. If you really want to go to Ohio for school, do it. But there is nothing wrong with community college. And I know it's going to suck because all your friends are leaving and going this way and that way. And I know I was really hurt about it that I couldn't go away to college, but I knew financially it would be the best decision for me at the end of the day. And it is 4 years later, debt free. It's the best decision. Oh, we froze again. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah, we froze, but I can hear you. Right, the community college is definitely a good value, and I get people. Everybody has their opinion, right? With anything in life, all the way down to college, we totally get that. Is there anybody in this world, in addition to your parents, that you feel is a valuable influence to the world? It could be
Yeah.
political. We got your parents out of the way, which I totally admire. It doesn't have to be political. That's what I'm not saying, but somebody that we can relate to in society. And I know I didn't ask you this prior, so I apologize for putting you on the spot.
Yeah, no, actually, this is kind of weird, but I've been binging it lately. So, Tyra Banks actually went to Harvard,
Wow.
and yeah, and she made, a world for herself for being pretty, but is also really, really smart. So that's something that a lot of people don't know, but that's something that I always was like, wow, like you can be super pretty and super smart, like you can do anything.
That's awesome. I never knew that about her.
Yeah.
And yeah, right. It's that perception that one has with somebody in the public eye, right? That we get it, but that is cool. That is
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. So, what is your dream job?
Oh, good question. Honestly, I think my dream job would be I kind of want to do public relations for a nonprofit. I think like the satisfaction of helping people is like where the real gold is in life. Like I want to help people more than anything, but I actually had an internship at a nonprofit throughout my college career, and I helped veterans get paired with service dogs.
Wow.
And yeah, with the, veterans that had traumatic brain injuries or something like that. So we would work with them every day and help them find a service dog that fits their needs or something. And it was just I've never seen anything like so satisfying to see like someone be able to live their normal life because they had this dog, because people like us helped them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think nonprofits are really important and people overlook them, but there's still, and people also think that there's no money to be made in nonprofits, but they're high powered careers. Like you could climb the ladder in a nonprofit. And like, if you're at the top, like the money's good and helping people is good. So that's what I want to do.
Yeah, that's great. Definitely value in that. So I just say with the nonprofits, and you just made the point, but for most of the time, it's not about the money, right? You want to live and have a good career, but when you balance the both, life is good. So, is there any more schooling for you in the works?
Yes, actually, I do want to go to graduate school. However, I financially am trying to make the decision that hopefully the established career I have will pay for me to get my master's degree. That I know that can happen if I'm in the right career. But if the career doesn't happen like that in the next like 2 years, then I'll just go on my own. But that is a goal. I want to get as many degrees as possible.
No, that's a great point, and I will share with you and our viewing audience that I did exactly the same thing when I went back to my master's. I waited until I felt I was established in a particular position that I had the employer contribute a lot to, right, the tuition reimbursement. And that's a great point, Catherine. And I haven't brought that up lately, but employers do or can possibly pay for or assist in your tuition costs.
Yes,
Excellent.
That is the goal.
Yeah. Let me ask you, when did you graduate?
I graduated in May of this year.
May. Oh, cool. So recent. Have you ever taken any online classes in college?
Yes. I would say I did more in community college, but they're harder.
They're harder.
They're harder than in-person classes.
And why is that?
They just, I think it's more work online. They figure if you're not leaving your house to go to a class that you have more time to do more work. And it's a lot of discussion boards and replying to someone and being like, Megan, I agree with your post. Like, to me, it wasn't as useful as like going in class and having someone like telling you. But obviously, in this reality that we are living in, everybody has to do online school. So it can be really challenging, but it also could, if everybody's doing online, it might be a little different. I'm hoping they're taking it easy, but I have my old roommates that are still doing a semester at Salisbury, and they said it's way harder. So
Yeah, and
I'm
the
glad
reason I ask,
I got
the
out when
reason
I did.
I, yeah, the reason I ask you that is because through the years, either the student or the parent would question the online delivery and the value. And to your point, until you go through it, don't judge, right? Like anything.
Right. Yeah.
I think it's exactly to your point. It's challenging. It can be more difficult. The pros are you're not commuting, right? So it's the balance. Again,
Yeah.
options, opinions. Hmm.
And
Yeah,
if you have to work, if you still, I mean, like I did, I had to work no matter what. If you still have to work, online classes make it easier. So you can, if you know, oh, I have to work this day, this day, this day, you can go ahead and do all the work you need to do for the week so that you don't have to worry about it when that time comes. So that's another plus about online school is you could finish the whole class relatively if you wanted to. So it's kind of like you go at your own pace. You just have to have it done by this date, this date, this date.
right. And I'm sure you will agree that you definitely need self discipline.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah.
Right? Because nobody cares that a Catherine, a Joe, whoever has X, Y, and Z to do outside of class, right?
Right.
Shame on you if you don't get it done.
I will say though that something I in high school they kind of pounded into your head that like college is real world. You will not get any breaks. You will not get any excuses, this and that. But I had so many understanding professors throughout my
Hmm.
years. Like there's been times when I just straight up forgot about one assignment and I freaked out because I care about my grades a lot. So I would email them and be like, I'm so sorry. Is there any way I can redo this? And 9 times out of 10, the professor would be like, yeah, of course, just have it done by tomorrow. Or if you need an extension because things are rough, especially with the COVID thing, like everybody's mental health is off, everybody's jobs are affected. So they're really understanding in this point in time that if you need an extension, if you need something, just ask for it. I mean, the worst they can say is no.
Right, right. No, and I agree because I teach college as well, and every teacher is different. I get that, but um, my delivery or my intent is to help students out as much as possible. Now, my audience are adults, right? Typically with families and a lot of things going on. Not that it matters, doesn't matter. But I always try to be understanding, right? Because you would want
Yeah.
that in turn. You would want that in turn. But it's the frequency. If it happens a lot, then you kind of draw the line, right? All good points, Catherine. Great. So the moral of
Yeah.
the story is for our audience is you can bust your chops, you can work, don't kill yourself, have the balance, and get through
Right.
school, and don't rely on other sources as much, possibly depending on your situation. But
Right.
you definitely are a great influence, Catherine. And I don't want to cut you off. Is there anything that you want to say before we head out?
Yeah, I just want to say don't hate on community college. If you do that, there's a good chance you can be debt free when you graduate. State school is also a really good idea. And, just do your absolute best because getting a degree just opens the world of opportunities for you.
Awesome, awesome. Right? Yeah. With that said, I always share with people, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. You have to really look at your return on investment. When you're going to pay X
Mhm.
amount to go to college, that's great, or maybe not. But what are you going to get out of it? And then, to your point, you have to market yourself thereafter. Just because you have that paper, that's okay and that's
That's
good.
half
But you got
of
to
it.
market
Yeah,
yourself, right? Excellent, Catherine.
absolutely.
Thank you very much for your time. I love to maybe talk to you again in the future about whatever you are going to do next.
Yeah, yeah, no problem. Thanks for picking my brain. I hope I helped somebody.
Okay. Till next time, you take
Till
care of
next
yourself.
time. You too. Thanks.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.